So as you can tell, Adam and I are on a job. We're running the new machine, and I had a client yesterday tell me, like literally just right after I finished, he's like, the carpet feels barely even damp to the touch, and I had been done for maybe 5 minutes since I had pulled the wand away from the carpet. So it's really cool to hear that this machine gets the carpets dry a lot faster. So that whole myth of carpets taking a day or two to dry out with hot water extraction is basically going away now that machines are getting much more powerful and the capabilities of it are higher. So even with my other machine, the dry times are faster than what a lot of people think they are, because we were getting some carpets dry in as little as 4 to 5 hours with that machine, and this one's stronger. So now I'm thinking we're getting them potentially almost dry to the touch in probably like 2, maybe 3 hours, depending on the situation. Now, different things play into that, such as, is the house closed up? Are there any cracked windows to allow moisture to escape? Is there any air movement being used to facilitate that? So the positives is, with this machine, unless somebody needs it dry ASAP immediately, we don't have to run fans right after we're done, because it's already drying in an accelerated rate compared to what's generally known as normal. But there are things such as the air movement in the house and a way for it to escape that play into your dry time. So it will fluctuate even if we do have faster speeds, or any carpet cleaner is relying on the fact that the house won't be completely shut. There's a whole house fan or something to that sort that's making things a lot better as far as the dry times. So even though with the strength of this machine, I still, as you guys have seen, do dry passes afterwards. And that's just because I want to keep those dry times fast and potentially down to that maybe 3 or 4 hours or less time frame. So I could imagine if we had a carpet that wasn't really dirty and we didn't need to do but a single pass to take care of it, and then a dry pass afterwards, yeah, we might get carpets, drying out in that 2 hour, 3 hour range for sure. So the positive on this is for people that are, having trouble getting into their new house and last minute need the carpets cleaned and then need to move stuff in, ASAP. So with that being said, we're now able to help with that a little bit more too. But like I said, a lot plays into how fast your carpets are going to dry. So you got to take that into account when you have somebody over. Are they doing dry passes? What type of machine are they using? And depending on what machine they are using, if it's not the strongest, doesn't mean it's a problem. It just means they just need to do some extra dry passes so we can make sure that your carpet's dry in a decent time. Or use the fans to push air across the carpets. That makes a big difference too when those situations arise. So I have those on my van, or both vans, so if somebody needs it, we can facilitate it and get them dry super quick. I mean, I've had rooms dry before I'm even gone and done with my last area of carpet because of that. So those are just a few things to consider when you're having your carpets done. I'm in no way talking down on different machines. Some are just stronger than others and a little more efficient. That's really the only difference. And when you have the other machines that aren't quite as strong, you just got to do some things to compensate for it. And that's perfectly fine. That's what I've been doing in the past years until we got the machines that we have to help us be more efficient. But anyways, after we finish this carpet upstairs and the stairs going down, the kitchen, entryway, laundry, and bathroom is tile, and that's what we'll be working on. So that's the reason why Adam's with me on this job. We had one small job change days, so we just teamed up today to get this one done at an earlier time, and then we'll be doing an estimate and be calling it a day. This one's 3 bedrooms and hallway, stairs for carpet. Not a ton. But I already cleaned the shower in the master bedroom. That's what we started out on. While Adam was setting up the wand and everything, I was pre-scrubbing everything in there. Then I rinsed it out. And now we're on the carpets, of course. And then once we're done with the carpets, we'll jump back over to the tile. So, usually once I get into a room, I turn the fans on. And the reason why I wait is because I don't want my pre-spray to dry out before I get to it. But once if I'm in the room and I'm starting to work on it, I don't have to worry about that so much. But if I turn them on immediately, a lot of times the pre-spray might be almost dry and you still want it to be wet when you get to it. You don't want it to be completely dried out, because then you got to reapply it to reactivate the pre-spray. Makes it easier to rinse out too, from my understanding. So I try not to never let that happen so I don't have to experience it. Nothing that you'll visually see, but you'll probably just spend more time rinsing the carpet out if it dried rather than while it's still damp. So we got 18 locations of commercial jobs that are popping up pretty soon. I figured it out because we have to have them done by the end of the year based on what they need. So we got to do 2 1/4 every week until the end of the year, with a couple weeks being probably 3 of them in a week because of holidays. And we're not going to bunch them all together because holidays 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and 2 weeks before Christmas are always a little crazy. It's almost like the summer or spring rush, but in a combined or a small time frame. So this one's not in bad shape. There's a little bit of a transition, but nothing horrible. Their last tenant was really seemed to be pretty clean. There was just a few hidden pet stains, so we boosted our pre-spray with Pure O2. Nothing major in here that warranted an actual pet treatment. There was no odor lingering, so we didn't have to worry about that. So really the only downside to having a stronger machine is, even with that glide, the little white piece on the bottom of the wand there that you see, it's still a little difficult to push through because the lift is what's pulling stuff out of the carpet, and the CFMs is what's sending it through and back to the machine into the wastewater tank. So it's got higher lift and CFMs compared to the other machine that I have. So when you're pushing the wand, it's a little tougher on certain carpets too, especially the low nap carpets, because it will almost feels like it in a way glues itself to the carpet, so it's a little tougher to push through. So you gotta just, in a way, it's almost harder work, but the dry times are so much faster. So it's kind of a nice, because if you think about it, you're not having to do as many dry passes, so it kind of evens out. So we're gonna keep this moving. Just wanted to show you guys some of the cleaning and go over some things. But yeah, now that I'm not actually holding the wand and cleaning at the same time and talking and all that and videoing, you guys can kind of see a different perspective a little bit here. Alright, so we're starting on the tile. Adam's giving it a good pre-scrub. You can see the dirt's just popping right out of the lines, which is a great sign. I had already test cleaned the floor over there. You can see that spot there when I came out and did the estimate. So I knew how this was going to clean up before we started. And that's something that you should always do if you're a cleaning business, is always test clean the tile. Take that time, because you're going to reduce your headaches when it comes down to cleaning it. Because you might come in and see a job like, yeah, we can clean that, and then find out that there's a coating on the floor, such as an acrylic sealer, or a product that was used by the client that's called Rejuvenate, something like that, that leaves a topical coating. And now it won't always come off with just cleaning. You got to strip the floor so you can get to the grout and everything, because the coating's covering all that stuff. So if they didn't clean it first and then you got that product on there, whichever it may be, now you got to strip that off the floor and then clean the floor underneath that coating. And stuff gets embedded into those sealers or that product, and specifically Rejuvenate, that I've had a couple issues with, or like Mop and Glow. Stuff like that creates more work in most cases that I've come across. So it's always advised that you do, when you come in to a tile job, take some of your tile cleaner, spray the area, do some scrubbing, and pull what's up that might be there. And if it flakes off, like almost like dead skin, there's a good chance that there's a coating on the floor, and now you know that it needs to be stripped rather than just cleaned, and that it's going to take you potentially twice as long to do, and now you're not agreeing to basically do twice the work for the same cost. It creates a headache for you. That's a loss for your company. And now you kind of are stuck in that position to where you have to do the work for half, and you're not making any money whatsoever on situations like that. So that's why we always test clean, unless we know without a shadow of a doubt that it's just dirt that's on it, and that it doesn't need to be stripped prior to cleaning. So as you can see, everything's coming right off. I'm not getting any flaking. There's just some kick out that was stuck up in there from the carpet, that popped out. A lot of times when you go over little divots, like the grout lines, stuff that's stuck up in the CRB that hasn't come out yet pops out. So we got basically cleaner up to this grout line right here. We're just doing a section of the living room into the kitchen, and then we'll come over here and do this portion of it. probably leading up into this laundry and that small bathroom. Do that as a section and then finish our way out of the entry here. So that's what we got left. Just wanted to show you guys the tile a little bit so you can see what we're doing to prep the floor before we rinse it. And plus, this floor is textured. You can see these little dirty areas in those pits. Running a good cleaner over that, and then the CRB can make a huge difference. See now how clear that tile is on the top in comparison to that one there on that section where you hadn't hit yet. Now this cleaner will probably do it all by itself, but you know, instead of waiting dwell time X amount of minutes, we run the CRB over it in most cases, and that almost expedites the time that we would have had to wait. And then plus situations like this where you got no choice but to put the drapes up because it's touching the floor. Now we got sunlight in here that can dry it out fast, so we're also kind of running against that drying out. In the same situation as carpet, like I mentioned earlier, you don't want your pre-spray to dry out, so it's the same idea on the tile. You don't want the cleaning product to dry out on you before you rinse it off the floor, because otherwise you got to spend more time rinsing, trying to get it to pop off. That way you don't have potentially your product causing issues with after it's completely dried out, and you might have to come back and resolve that. So you can see how much clearer the tile looks now, just from a good scrub and a good cleaning product. Makes a big difference. Alright guys, so apologize, the lighting's not the best, but here's the way to really show you guys where we stopped and everything. So you look at the grout lines now, and even the tile, and this area is not even that bad in comparison to over here and what was in the kitchen that Adam's finishing rinsing out right now. Got a phone call, so otherwise I would have showed you guys a little bit more of the rinsing of the bad areas, but a call came through, so I apologize about that. But yeah, he's finishing up in the kitchen area. Then we're going to come around and check all the edges and make sure that we get close as possible to the sides here. And then we'll clean up the rest of the grout and tile throughout here. But so far, even with it still damp, it looks way better. There's a little bit of variation in some of the grout in the trafficked areas, but otherwise it's cleaning just fine, and it will probably lighten it up even more once it dries. A lot of times grout has a tendency to be a little darker when it's damp too, so we always got to take that into consideration.